And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I am Michael Delon, and today I am talking with Derek Fredrickson. Derek, man, thank you for spending some time with me today.
Thank you, Michael. I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's going to be a very good conversation. So, if you are running a business, you might just want to stop and listen to this episode because Derek and his team can help you learn how to run your business in a fraction of the time. And it's going to be awesome. I love what he does already. So, Derek, I tell you what, as we get into this whole conversation, just tell us how in the world did you get doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, great question, Michael. And I'm really happy to be here and share this message with you and your audience. My story is a bit interesting. I didn't catch the entrepreneurial bug from the beginning. I actually started out working in corporate on Wall Street
Okay.
back in New York City. And then at the time, my wife and I had two small children. We were about to have our third. And my wife is a business coach and entrepreneur, and she had a pretty successful business at that time. And we decided to actually join forces and work together, which I know for a lot of people is like, I would never work with my significant other. It would be a recipe for disaster. But for us, we had dreams and goals to make that happen. And so that was the idea. So I stepped into her business and really kind of figure it out from the ground up. I kind of make the joke that I started out in the mailroom of her business and figured out everything that needed to happen to make the business run. And then also realize where I could add value, what I could do with my background and my experience, and then also allow her as the entrepreneur, the visionary, focus on the things that she wanted to focus on to grow and scale the business. That was back in 2008. We've been
Okay.
working together since then for now 17 years. And we have a very self-managed company, right people, right seats, processes for everything. And over that time, I really enjoyed stepping into that role of what I would call that second in command. Call it a second in command, a COO, a chief operating officer, integrator, if you're familiar with
Yeah.
EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And then from that work, I realized that there were people that needed fractional COO support in their business. What
Yeah.
a surprise, right? And so a lot of people would come to me and say, Derek, I need your help. I need a Derek. I need somebody to do for my business what you've done for Bold Heart, which is the name of our business coaching company. And I started to do that on a very fractional basis for a handful of clients. And because I had been doing it for 16 years with my wife's business, I knew how to run a company. I knew what it took to create systems, to create processes, to create right people, right seats, a structure for accountability to make things happen. And then I realized there was more interest and more demand, and I can't scale, right, when it's just me. And so
Right.
over the last year, I've really cultivated this environment of the COO solution, which is providing fractional COO and OBM, online business manager support for entrepreneurs that want to scale, that want to get out of the day-to-day, that really want to step into their vision and being that kind of conduit to make that happen. I often say that entrepreneurs are the ones that make it up. People like me make it real. And then with the right team and process, we make it recur, right? So there's a framework for doing things more efficiently, more effectively, and that's where you can really scale and make an impact. So yeah, that's my brief story and how I got started with all of this.
I love it. I love it. Now, I love the phrase you used, I need a Derek, because around my company, the phrase is everybody needs a Caleb. So my
Yeah,
Caleb is my eldest son. He's my chief operating officer, and he's just off the charts, brilliant, great with
yeah,
systems, great with people. And we've been saying that for years because he freed me up. He came back
yeah,
to my company a few years ago and freed me up from that entrepreneurial prison, in a sense,
yeah,
because I was trying to do everything and I'm not great operationally. I mean, I'm,
yeah,
I'm a systems guy, but I much
yeah,
prefer to have somebody lay the system out and then I keep it in process, right?
yeah,
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are stuck in prison because they
mhm,
don't understand the leverage that a
yeah,
COO can really bring to the table. They read the books, they're like, okay, oh,
yeah,
that's good, but they don't take that step to engage with somebody like you. So I want to talk about some of the stresses, the pressures that business owner is in right now who
yeah.
hasn't made that leap. What are they
Mhm.
experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're experiencing a level of, and listen, there's no judgment, right? That's part of the
Okay.
entrepreneurial journey, right?
Yeah,
Everybody gets started at a
absolutely.
point and they realize they've got a passion, they've got an interest, they've got a desire, and they've got this I can do it, I can make it happen mentality, which is exactly what you want to get started. But at a certain point, maybe you've hired a few team members here and there, you realize that I call it you hit this ceiling of complexity, which
Right.
is your business has become not necessarily a burden, but it's draining your energy. There are things that are the activities that you're involved with as an entrepreneur that are taking your time, energy, and effort away from the things that are actually going to be moving the needle, which is the vision, which is the
Yeah.
ideation, which is the strategy, the big picture, the future. And when you're getting brought down into those day-to-day, putting out fires, whack-a-moling things that are going on in your company, whether it be with team, whether it be with systems, it's more about how you're doing what you're doing. The entrepreneur is brilliant about what they do, but
Yeah.
oftentimes they should not be involved as much in the how you're doing it, because that's where they tend to add
Yeah.
complexity. And I often say you cannot scale complexity. And so, like you said, there's that entrepreneurial prison, or there's that struggle, which is, but I should know how to do this. I should be able to figure out the operations, or I should be able to figure out
Yeah.
all of the financial dashboards. I should be able to hire the right people for the right seats. And one of the things that I've learned in the work that I've been doing and with our clients is that there are certain assessments, there are profiles that somebody can take that help you understand how you're wired and
Yeah.
understand what are my strengths. And when you get really clear that maybe I shouldn't try to improve my weaknesses, I should focus more on my strengths. And that's where I can like exponentially grow and expand the business. That's where they get traction. That's where they get momentum. And also having the trust of somebody to step in that can run the day-to-day, like your Caleb or
Right.
my Derek, right? As an
Yeah.
example. And when they get freed up from that, and I often say they can do less better. And that doesn't mean because they're lazy. It means they do less of the doing and they actually have more time to think. And when they think, they can focus on the vision, the strategy, the big picture. And that's where there's exponential growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Dude, one of my favorite books is The Road Less Stupid. And it's by Keith Cunningham, who's
I love it.
made and lost more millions than you and I will ever see in our lives, right? But he's got the book, and it's all about thinking time.
Yeah,
Is what
I
he
know.
calls it. It's an hour a week, once or twice a week, where you
Yeah.
think as the entrepreneur. And what we find is business owners don't do that because they're in prison. They're trying to find the keys to
Yeah.
get out. And
Yeah.
it's just so frustrating. And what I found, and you may be an entrepreneur who's wanting to scale your business,
Hmm.
or you may be an entrepreneur who just wants to have some more time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but you don't have the time because you're trying to fix the system, but
Hmm.
God's not wired you to fix systems. He's wired you to be the
Exactly.
entrepreneur. And when
Yeah.
you understand that, I think one of the myths out there is just that we have these one man unicorn
Yeah.
anomalies, the Steve Jobs, the Elon Musks and things, because that's all we see. We
Yeah.
we never see the COO who's running the ship.
Exactly. Exactly.
And,
Yeah.
and I
They're
think
the behind the scenes, right? And they meant to be
100%.
because people, they're meant to be the ones that are running the business. I often say we run your business for you or
Yeah,
with you. And when I say for you, it doesn't mean we come in, this is not from ego. This is not from
right.
taking control of your business. It's giving you control of your business. And oftentimes when you create this structure of accountability on allowing the entrepreneur to be more of the entrepreneur, to allow the team to be more of the team that they need to be, where there's a process for everything. It's a system that's followed by all. You have right people,
Yeah,
right seats. It creates this momentum and it creates this path forward that allows people to feel really aligned in what they're doing. And so it often elevates and expands your productivity and your excitement because you're not in the stuff that's like, draining your time, energy, and effort, and you can focus on the bigger picture. I have one quick little story. I remember I worked with the client and he was always in the weeds, right? And
yeah,
I said to him at one point, I said, every time that you're sitting at your computer trying to figure out Asana, trying to figure out how to get your CRM to do the blah, blah, blah with whatever, with your website, and you're not at a cafe, I live in France, not at a cafe with your iPad, listening to a podcast, thinking and learning, and mind mapping the future vision of what you want it to be, you are costing your business money. Because when you're not doing that and you're trying to do the systems, which is not how you're wired to be, you're getting in the way of your growth by not being more focused on your vision. So I'm like, get out from your computer, go grab your iPad, go grab a cup of coffee and vision and make up the
yeah.
ideas and let us make it happen.
Boy, that's worth millions of dollars right there for anybody who's listening, is to get away and do what God created you to do.
I
And
love
as the
that.
owner, that's the vision. That is
Yeah.
the I mean, John Maxwell always says everything rises and falls on leadership. And
Yeah.
leadership is vision. It's here's where we're going, folks. And now let's talk about systems and processes. And I love what you said a minute ago. Entrepreneurs so many times think they have to know everything. And I was
Hmm.
stuck in that trap for a while, and I finally got out of it. And I had a client this week say, "Hey, Michael, where's my book? And where is it in the process? And when's the cover design?" And I looked at him and said, "Derek, I have no idea.
Yeah, I love
My
that.
team does,
I love
and I
that.
will connect you with them. I have no idea on
Yeah.
purpose."
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people who ask those types of questions. And I'm like, I can give you the answer that you want. I
Yeah.
can give you the how on how to do what you're asking. But I'm
Yes.
also going to give you the answer you need. And the answer you need is that you should not figure out how to do that. What you
100%.
should figure out is who can do
Ooh,
that for you or do that
right.
with you. Because if you are then trying to figure out how do I get my ClickFunnels to connect with the Zapier connection and how do I be able to scale the Calendly, how do I set up Asana? Get somebody to come in place, create the
Yeah.
systems, create the process, create the structure, and you can reside in that, but you don't have to be the one to make it up.
That's right. Yeah. And I really think business owners they need you to help figure out a different badge of honor to wear. Here's what I
Mm,
hear when I talk to entrepreneurs. Oh, I get 472 emails a day, and
yeah,
I go, I'm really sorry to hear that because when I leave at night, I have zero in my inbox.
yeah,
I wake
yeah,
up the next day and I might have five or six
yeah,
because we've delegated and my team takes care of so much. And it's the badge of honor that I'm so important that I have 800. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm so sorry. So helping them recalibrate or actually
Pivot.
just
Yeah,
pivot, get into a new world and say, leave
yeah,
that world there and let that world operate. And that's why EOS, right? The
yeah,
entrepreneurial operating system.
yeah.
I think a lot of business owners read those books and they're great books. But you know what made the difference for us? And I think you'll resonate with this is my son
Mm,
Caleb found that book, read that book, and said, Daddy, read this book. We are doing this because
yeah,
he is my operator.
yep.
I think entrepreneurs read it and we go, yeah, that's a great idea. What do I do?
Yeah, I know. Or they start, right? They start reading it. And then again, this is again no judgment. This is the beauty
Right.
of when know thyself, whether it's,
Yes.
assessments, profiles, just like when you know better, you do better, right? Sounds cliche,
Yeah.
but it's true. And oftentimes, they start, they start projects, they initiate ideas, they read a book and then they start it, but there's nobody there to finish it. There's nobody there
Yes.
to land the plane. And oftentimes, I kind of equate what we do where like that's the kite, right? The visionary is the kite, like big
Yeah.
idea, big future, big forward thinking. But you have to have a little bit of a string to tether the kite. Otherwise, it just can gotta fly away. And
Right.
oftentimes you need the kite to bring up that person that can make things happen. Be like, what's the idea that I can make happen? What's the solution that you want me to make reality? What's the goal? Let me make that happen for you. And when you create, especially with a structure like EOS or getting the right support in your business, the trusted support in your business, you create that culture of ownership. You create that culture of responsibility where people are all aligned and they kind of, right people, right seat in the right bus, headed in the right direction. And everybody's like, I got it. I know where I'm going. I know what my
Right.
role is. I know what's expected of me. I feel aligned. I feel empowered. I've drunk the Kool-Aid of the vision and I'm on board. And so
Right.
they kind of jump into that. And again, that's where you get that level of momentum and satisfaction that kind of like rejuvenates the entrepreneur. Like I get excited again. Let's make stuff happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Yeah.
you got this company called the COO Solution, which by the way is a great name. When I saw that, I'm
Thank
like,
you.
kudos. Um, how do you work with entrepreneurs? So we got an entrepreneur listening to this, right? They're struggling, they're hitting the wall. They see themselves in that prison that I talked about.
Yeah.
They want to escape. How do they when you engage with somebody,
Mm.
what's it even look like?
Yeah, yeah. First off, one of the first steps is oftentimes an entrepreneur might say, I don't know. Like, do I need a fractional COO? Is that too much? What does it look like? What's involved? And then getting clear on that is usually the first step because if they're at a certain level, let's say you're multiple six figures or seven figures or beyond, and they're feeling that kind of
Yeah.
ceiling of complexity, they need to have the clarity to know that what they've done is not going to continue to get them to where they need to be. You can hire more
Right.
people and do more of the same, but it's going to create more of the same results. And so part of it is this mindset shift and realizing that getting that partner right? I often say that trusted partner, that second in command to help you run your business with you, or in some cases
Right.
for you, is actually the solution that you need. I often call it the secret sauce you didn't know you needed in your own business. And so the first step is just getting clear. Like, do I need a fractional COO or OBM? OBM is as an online business manager that's mostly focused primarily just on marketing and
Mm-hmm.
operations and like project management, typically for a business owner that's more in the lower multiple six figures, because that's their priority. I
Right.
need to sell my program, I need to get paying clients, I need to build the infrastructure with my foundation of how I provide the service, and I need to do it in a structured, systematic way, leveraging project management tools. So the first step is to discover, is now the time to
Right.
consider bringing on a fractional COO or OBM. And that's a quiz that we offer actually for those that are interested at the colosolution.com to see, let me get clear. And once you get clear, be like, okay, so I'm now aware that I need that level of support. What's the next step? And the first step that I often take in speaking to an entrepreneur, it's not about whether, working together or anything, just getting support, like getting a resource, getting a solution is the most important. But I can say this for a fact that after doing this now for 17 years, the number one value, in my opinion, that matters the most is trust. Because
Mm-hmm.
who else is going to run your business for you unless it's somebody that you inherently trust, that you can
Yes.
pass the keys to the kingdom for? And again, this is not about you kind of stepping, Elvis has left the building and you're not involved, but you get to
Right.
be involved in the things that you want to be involved in, as opposed to being involved in the things that you need to be involved in. And having
Yeah.
somebody create this culture where they're leading and managing and holding the people, plans, projects, and processes of your company accountable allows you to have the faith and the confidence to step out of the things that you don't want to be involved with, knowing that I got it. I got it. I can take care of it. You can trust me. I'm going to make it happen. There's a process, there's a systematic way of doing it. And that's a huge sense of relief for the entrepreneur to be, okay, now I'm getting clear that's the solution that I need. I know I need somebody that I can really inherently trust because they have a process, they have a framework that's going to work. And then they get on the path to getting that next level of result in place. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so good because from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you can move from managing or overseeing maybe 3 or 4 people in about a dozen processes to kind of pulling that back and saying, okay, no, I'm going to work with Derek.
Mm,
Derek gets to manage 3 or 4
yeah,
people and 22 processes, and
exactly.
Derek and I are in alignment.
Yeah, exactly. And oftentimes what we'll do is, because again, having just worked with entrepreneurs, they're vision focused, right? They're future focused. So where we start is not like what system needs to be built now, what process
Right.
needs to be built now. We don't start now. And we look back and we bring the good from the back into the future, and we leave the bad of the back. What didn't work?
Yeah.
What processes didn't work? What hires didn't work? Okay, leave that behind, bring the good stuff forward. But where we go with the visionary, say, okay, paint me the picture 12 months out, 6 months out, 3 months out. What do you want to have in place? What are your big goals, your big objectives, your big rocks, et cetera? Great. Let's start from there. And then our job is to, and this is what entrepreneurs love. I say, our job, not your job, our job is to reverse engineer the plan by day 30, 60, 90 to make that reality. And when they hear reverse engineer and they don't have to do the plan, they're like, you're
Right.
speaking my language, because I don't want to reverse engineer. They hear the word engineer and they're like, that's not for me. That's
Yeah.
for us. We come up with the detailed plan, what needs to happen week to week. And then they get that boots on the ground, day-to-day level of partnered, trusted support to make that happen. And then we are looking at the vision in order to fulfill, right? So it's not just
Yeah.
focusing on systems for systems sake or processes for processes sake. That just doesn't move the needle. It's looking at the vision, reverse engineer what systems and processes and people you need to have in place in order to achieve that. And that's where you get momentum. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. I was just sitting here as you were explaining all of that. I came out of a conference last week, and one of the speakers was talking about, how do you get to a certain level in business? And at the end of
Yeah.
the day, he's like, you have to know the value of your time and where are
Yeah.
you investing your time? And really, that's what you're talking about because a business owner is going to spend money, and
Yeah.
they're either going to spend money by not reaching out to Derek and trying to
Yeah.
do it all themselves and limiting growth and being stuck in prison and getting
Yeah.
frustrated and losing opportunities because you're not doing what you should be doing,
Yeah.
or you're going to invest some money, hire somebody like Derek to come on and really get more freedom and more growth. The money's spent one way or the
Yeah.
other.
It
right?
is, no matter what. It's always, that's why I say it's either time, energy, or effort. Time is quantifiable, right? So if you're spending 3 hours a day figuring out this stuff and you know that it's not the best use of your time, that's one point. The effort, it might take you an hour to do something that somebody else that's got the right skill set or wiring to do in 10 minutes. And again, there's no judgment. It might take that person an hour to do what you're trying to do that takes you 10 minutes, right? But then there's the energetic impact. And the energy is what's the drain. It's the, oh, it's like that sigh. It's that I don't want to be doing this type of stuff in my business anymore. I feel like I've lost my passion. I've lost that mission because I'm not out there connecting with partners
Right.
or people or looking at the big idea. I'm focused on the day-to-day type of stuff. And so there's that energetic component that drains them, that like kind of deflates them, which is hard to then jump out of bed the next morning and do it all over again. So when they have that solution that can come in to solve that and give them their time back to go, you can go take a nap, right? You can go
Right.
sit on the beach. Great. That's your choice. Or you could reinvest that back in the business that's going to actually move it forward.
Right. And a couple other things for the entrepreneur as we're thinking about, as we're starting to wind this thing up. But hiring somebody like, bringing somebody like Derek on with his team is, number one, less expensive than hiring a full-time person because
Of
they're
course.
fractional. Number one. Number
Yeah.
two, they're experienced. He's got 17 years of
Yeah. Yeah.
doing this. It's not like you have to, well, is he going to work out or is he not going to work out? Does he know
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
he's doing? No, he knows what he's doing. So
Yeah.
the ability for an entrepreneur to engage with you, Derek, and go, okay, let's have these conversations because it's a safer bet, dare I say,
Yeah.
than going out to Upwork or someplace like that and trying to find a COO. Because
Yeah.
no. This thing's laid out. He's done it over and over. Have the conversation. So, was that a
Yeah.
fair summary? Is that
I couldn't have said it better myself, but yeah, that's
okay?
right on, spot on. I
All
love
right.
it. You're speaking
So,
my language.
brother, you and I think we could talk for about 4 hours on all this because it's so good, but it's so important for entrepreneurs to realize you've hit the ceiling of complexity. I built this business starting from scratch, right?
Yeah.
And I hit a level when we were doing like 300,000 a few years ago, and I knew that for me to crest that, to get higher,
Yeah.
I needed to put processes and people in
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
we've systematically done, and we've systematically grown year after year after year, right?
Yeah.
That's scary as an entrepreneur, but it
It
has
totally
to
is
be done.
scary. It freaks them out because they hear the word structure, they hear
Yeah.
the word system, process, accountability, and they're like, ugh,
Yeah.
And I often say the path to freedom in your business is actually structure, because
Yeah.
structure will give you the foundation for things to run like a well-oiled machine where you have the right people in the right seats. And also, if your business is complex, where you're involved in all these different things and there's not a process for this and there's not a system for that and people aren't aligned and you don't know like who's on first and everything else, you can't scale complexity. So if your
Yeah.
business feels complex, it's going to be a rough challenge to scale. And I know entrepreneurs are like, I'll do it, I'll persevere, I'll make it happen. That's what got them to that certain level. But when they realize, again, you have to spend more time thinking and less time, more time thinking and less time doing, that's that pathway. And when I say process, and it's not about, I often say, like, we want an organization to be process driven, not person driven. And that doesn't mean we don't value people,
Right.
but people can perform exceptionally well when there's a process in place. Because most team members are like, just tell me what my lane is. Like, tell me what I's I need to dot and T's I need to cross, and what are my responsibilities, and how can I perform, and how can I do well, and how can I support Michael and the entrepreneur. When you give them a lane to perform in that, that's a process. And so it
Right.
elevates them where you have a process and you have the right people. Oh,
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, Derek, this is amazing. I love what you've put together. The
thank
COO
you.
solution is great. Dozens of entrepreneurs need this. We all do because it just is, right? We
Yeah.
grow, and I the I think it was John Maxwell was talking about the law of the lid, right? You can only
Yeah.
grow to a certain level. And
Yeah.
that's okay. That's why we bring people together to help us grow even further. So, how
Exactly.
somebody's listening to this, Derek, they're intrigued. They feel that they're in that business prison that I was talking about. They want something else. How do they find you? Get more information. Schedule a call.
Sure.
What's that next step for them?
Yeah, great. I'd love to offer a resource. Like I said, at the coosolution.com, there is a quiz there that allows somebody to get really clear on discovering if now is the right time and getting fractional COO or OBM level support. And that quiz helps align not only like what's working, what's not working, but do I need COO? Do I need OBM? What's the difference between the two? And it's a little bit of an audit, right? Because when we step in and help with an organization, we're often like the guys that like we open up the trunk of the car and we're looking like what's working, what's not working. And we're not here to poke holes. We're not, again, it's not about judgment, but we need to see the full scope of everything that's there. This quiz allows you to get clear as the entrepreneur. What's working in my business in a more clarified way across marketing, sales, operations, finance, your team, and then a technology component because the technology landscape shifting, talking about things with AI and leveraging different automation, et cetera. So that's the first step, just to get clear on, do I need that type of support and guidance in my business? And if so, and if that quiz helps, then reach out. We'd love to connect and see if there's a way that we can offer support. I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to look me up there. But yeah, the quiz is a great introduction to get started into this fractional world and seeing how it can, be that secret sauce that you might be looking for in your business.
Excellent. Okay. And you're going to find that quiz at thecoosolution.com. I'm going to have that in the show notes so that you can get there. One of my phrases, Derek, that I've just hammered for years is profits don't grow a business. Systems do.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're a systems guy. You understand how to help the entrepreneur harness that vision, build systems, people, processes around it so that the entrepreneur can do what they do best. And that's where their business is going to grow. Derek, thank you for doing what you do, showing up in such a cool way, and for being my guest on Expert Speak.
That's awesome. Thank you, Michael. It was a real pleasure. I love chatting with you. And thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thanks, everybody, for listening to Experts Speak. Go to the coosolution.com, take that quiz, and then reach out to see how Derek can help you run your business in a fraction of the time.
Excellent.